I love great F1 drivers, but more than that, I love bad F1 drivers. And I'm not talking about the likes of Lance Stroll, Nicholas Latifi, Nikita Mazepin. The drivers I'm going to show you guys today make these three look like Michael Schumacher, Lewis Hamilton and Ayrton Senna. From spinning more times than a washing machine to being so slow you literally get disqualified, this video has it all. ALPS. Every single driver we're going to speak about today is slow, obviously, but none more slow than ALPS. ALPS only entered 3 Grand Prix in his entire career, each time at the Canadian Grand Prix. First in 1967, where he finished the race 43 seconds off the leaders. Wait, no, sorry, it says 43 laps off the lead. Not 43 seconds, 43 laps. Sorry about that. The next year, in 1968, he would return, and this time had an engine blowout before the race, so he wasn't able to take part, which is probably a bit of a blessing in disguise. But for his grand finale, ALPS would return for the 1969 Canadian Grand Prix and get disqualified for being too slow. Yes, you heard that right. This driver was actually black flagged for being too slow and basically just getting in the way of the real drivers on the track that day. He had only completed 22 laps of the Grand Prix, while the race leaders were already on lap 46. So after some complaining from the team principals of other teams that were more interested in winning the race, the marshals black flagged ALPS and he never returned to Formula 1, making ALPS the unfortunate holder of the record for being the only driver ever to be disqualified for being too slow. Not a great start. Jean-Denis Delatraz. From one slow driver to another. This time, imagine being so slow that the FIA literally makes up a new rule because of you. Well, that's exactly what happened to Delatraz. His junior career was very, very poor, so you may even be wondering how he made it to Formula 1. Towards the end of the 1994 season, a lot of F1 teams were struggling to stay afloat financially, so they resorted to pay drivers. Basically, if you could rock up with a bag full of cash, you get thrown in the car. Delatraz only got 3 race starts in his career, much like ALPS, but he certainly left his mark, or should I say left his stain, on the sport. His first race out in 1994 in Australia saw him 3 seconds off his teammate and 6 seconds off pole position. Unfortunately, on race day he suffered a gearbox failure and had to retire, but he was 10 laps down at this point, so maybe that was for the best. Delatraz would return to Formula 1 at the end of the 1995 season, again with the team struggling to stay afloat. So Delatraz would race in the 1995 Portugal and European Grand Prix for Pacific Lotus. So how did he do this time in qualifying? A whopping 12.5 seconds off pole, dead last. He would retire again from the race, but this time it wasn't a gearbox failure. This was something much, much worse. Something that Formula 1 drivers across the globe fear more than anything else. Delatraz retired from that race because he was suffering from cramp. No engine failure, no gearbox failure, no punctures. He had a bit of a sore leg, so he had to retire. What an incredible athlete this man was. And for his final race, he would continue this poor streak of performance, qualifying dead last, 9 seconds off pole. But this would be the first time that he ever finished a race. Albeit he was 7 laps down from the leaders, but technically he finished the race. Following Delatraz's poor performance in qualifying, the FIA introduced the 107% rule, which states that if a driver's lap time is more than 107% of the quickest, you would not be permitted to take part in the Grand Prix. A rule that some fans took to calling the Delatraz rule. Following his final race, his main sponsor mysteriously stopped sending money over and subsequently Delatraz lost his drive. When the team principal was asked what happened, he had this to say: "On ability alone, we are not willing to keep him." Which may sound harsh, but at least they were being honest. Januk Nissany. If you're wondering why his surname sounds so familiar, it's because his son, Roy Nissany, has recently been plaguing Formula 2 with his presence. But we're here to talk about his dad. We're going to play a game now. I'm going to show you 2 photographs. One is of a current Formula 1 driver when they decided they want to start racing. The other is going to be of Nissany. Can you spot the difference in these 2 photos? Nissany was 37 years old when he decided he wanted to become a Formula 1 driver. After attending the 2001 Hungarian Grand Prix, Nissany was blown away by the sport, the speed, the excitement, the adrenaline. So he turned to his friend that day trackside and said, "I want to be an F1 driver." So the next year, Nissany would sign up for the 2002 Formula 2000 Hungarian National Championship. And he managed to finish a respectful P2 in the championship. But let's clear something up here. We've got junior categories we're all aware of, things like Formula 2, Formula 3, Formula 4, FRECA. And then you've got rich guys pretending to be racing drivers. Can you guess which one the F2000 series was? But fast forward a few years and Nissany would get his first taste of Formula 1 machinery, doing a 2-day test for Minardi and a 2-day test for Jordan. And on the 2nd of February 2005, Minardi Formula 1 team principal Paul Stoddard announced that Nissany would become their official test and reserve driver for the 2005 season. A driver announcement that took the motorsport world by Wait, who's that guy? So finally in 2005, Nissany would get his chance to shine on the Grand Prix weekend. And on the day of his 42nd birthday, Nissany would roll out of the Minardi pit box, fulfilling his lifelong dream, his 4-year dream of becoming a Formula 1 driver. Now, what kind of feedback would you expect him to be giving about how the car's handling? Is it a bit of understeer? Is the car balance not quite right? Does it need the front wing adjusting? No. The first words to his engineer was, "This car has too much grip." Too much grip. You heard that right, the car has too much grip. That's like saying the engine is too fast. Anyway, with all this grip, you'd expect Nani to be setting some pretty impressive lap times, wouldn't you? No, his best lap was a mildly disappointing 12.9 seconds off the top. And in an attempt to claw back some of this deficit, Nani went out for another push lap. This time, spinning it, beaching it in the gravel, and bringing out the red flag. Now, we all know the drill for when this happens. Pop the steering wheel off, jump out the car, and do that oh so painful walk of shame back to the paddock. Unfortunately, Nani had sort of forgotten how to take his steering wheel off, so had to get recovered sat in his race car. You literally cannot make this up. Unsurprisingly, after that weekend, Minardi announced that they'd cut ties with Nani, so he returned back to the F2000 Hungarian Championship. Now obviously this wasn't the best Formula 1 career ever, but you can't blame the guy for trying. And people always say it's never too late to follow your dreams, and Nani's kind of living proof of that. So as much as this was a pretty embarrassing footnote in the world of Formula 1, still quite a cool story. Yuji Eiday. Now moving on to a driver that actually got to take part in a Grand Prix, not just a practice session. The Japanese racing driver began his career in Formula 1 quite late, but not as late as Nani mind you, but he was 31 years old when he made his debut, and this was in 2006 with the Super Aguri team. It's clear this new Japanese team wanted two Japanese drivers to race for them, the first being Takuma Sato, a pretty obvious choice, with a bit of F1 experience and some junior championships to boot. The other seat, however, went to Eiday. Now, Eiday's career up to Formula 1 wasn't exactly what you'd expect of a Formula 1 driver, with no junior championships on his way up the motorsport ladder, but a few races here and there, so we'll give him the benefit of the doubt. But when the first qualifying session of 2006 rolled around, it was clear that Eiday was not the right choice for the team. A whole 3 seconds off his teammate Sato and 7 seconds off pole sitter Michael Schumacher. Eiday would only make it about halfway through the Grand Prix before his car decided he was too embarrassed and decided to catch fire. Bound to win Malaysia, and again he was a few seconds off the pace in quali, and again the car decided it would rather not be there. But for round 3 in Australia, Eiday had a bit of a turnaround. His qualifying wasn't much better, but on race day there was a light at the end of the tunnel and Eiday finished the race. And he even managed a quite respectful P13 finish. Now you don't need to pause the video and go and check the classification for that race to see how many cars finished. There's nothing to see there. You don't need to go and, okay, yes, well, if you go and look at the classification for the AusGP in 2006, you will see this. And yes, 9 cars did DNF, so P13 was basically P last. And yes, he was 3 laps down from the race winner and a whole lap down from his teammate, but he finished the race. Can we at least give him that? His next race, and spoiler alert, his last race, would come at the Imola GP, where he was again embarrassingly off the pace in qualifying. And if you're hoping for an Australia-style redemption arc, that wasn't going to happen. In an attempt to overtake the Midland of Christian Alvarez, Eiday hit his rear tyre and sent him tumbling into the gravel. Thankfully, Alvarez was unharmed, but not too happy with Eiday. And what followed the Imola GP is one of the most insane things I've ever seen from the FIA. This is where the FIA advised the Super Aguri team to let Eiday go. Now I'm not too sure what advised means exactly, but Super Aguri did as they were told. I mean, did as they were advised. And in the coming days, the FIA would revoke Eiday's super license, pretty much banning him from ever taking part in an FIA event. After all this, the Super Aguri team principal Aguri Suzuki revealed that Eiday had only done 200 kilometers of testing in an F1 car before his debut. So as bad as he was, we can maybe give him a bit of the benefit of the doubt. And who knows, with more practice, maybe he'd only be 8 seconds off. That was me, and I'm sorry. Before we jump on into the next driver, I just wanted to let you guys know I'm doing a giveaway when I reach 1,500 subscribers. We are so close to hitting that goal. And when we do, I'm going to give away a piece of Formula 1 merchandise to one of my subscribers. So make sure you subscribe to the channel and leave a comment telling me your favourite F1 team to enter the giveaway. Back to the video. Sakon Yamamoto. Do you remember a few years back when Nikita Mazepin got announced as a Formula 1 driver, and everyone was questioning his junior career, saying that he wasn't really cut out to be an F1 driver? While that may be true, let's compare his junior career to Yamamoto's. If we look at Nikita Mazepin's junior career, there's race wins in some really competitive series, and even some vague-ish championship battles. Now let's take a look at Yamamoto's. Not the most exciting junior career to look at, is it? As I said earlier, it was very obvious the team principal of Super Aguri had one thing on his mind when it came to picking his drivers, and that's a white flag with a little red dot in the middle. Considering Yamamoto was meant to be a replacement for Eiday, he unfortunately shared many of the same qualities as a racing driver, managing to qualify last almost every single weekend and have his car either catch fire or finish dead last in the races, and all round showing a lack of pace and no signs of improvement. Sort of exactly what you'd expect from a driver unable to score points in junior categories. Unsurprisingly, he would not be re-signed for Super Aguri the following year, but in a shocking turn of events, he returned to Formula 1 on 2 separate occasions in 2007 and 2010. Did he improve his driving in any of this? No. No, he did not. His best finish came in 2007 with a P12 at the Japanese Grand Prix. And if you're wondering if this P12 was P last, it was. Just like Eiday, his best finish was a last place finish. Hans Heyer. At the 1977 German Grand Prix, a driver by the name of Hans Heyer turned up in an attempt to qualify. Unfortunately, he didn't qualify for the race, so the FIA wouldn't allow him to start. So Hans Heyer decided to take matters into his own hands. There was a lot going on at the start of the race, with the gantry lights failing, meaning the race had to be started using a physical flag. And in this confusion, there was a crash towards the rear of the field between Alan Jones and Clay Regazzoni. And in this commotion, Hayes decided to seize his opportunity and very quietly drove his car out of the pits and onto the track. Surprisingly, no one seemed to notice there was an extra car out on the track. That was until lap 9 when Heyer's gearbox failed and he needed to be recovered back to the pits. After the race officials learned what had happened, they immediately disqualified him. The FIA also didn't look too kindly on his choice to race that day, and handed him a 5-race ban. Ironically, Heyer decided never to return to Formula 1. All of this led to Hans Heyer being the only driver in Formula 1 history to did not qualify, did not finish, and get disqualified from a single event. But at least he's remembered for something. David Walker. Being the teammate of the driver that wins the championship must be pretty painful, knowing that with equal machinery, they were able to achieve their dream and you were not. But imagine for a second that your teammate wins the championship and you don't score a single point. Well, that's exactly what happened in 1972 to David Walker. He would partner with Emerson Fittipaldi in the beautiful John Player Lotus car. And during that year, Fittipaldi would score numerous podiums, wins, pole positions, and won the championship. David, on the other hand, would have a season best qualifying of 12th and a best race finish of 9th, which back in the good old days, 9th position did not score you any points. And subsequently, he finished 28th in the Drivers' Championship. 28th. Your teammate's first and you're 28th. Fun fact, a few places higher than Walker was Dr. Helmut Marko, who only competed in 5 races that year, half of what Walker did. So the next time we're having a go at the second Red Bull seat for being off of Max's pace, at least they're not 28th in the championship. So there you have it, the worst Formula 1 drivers in history. Let me know down in the comments who was your favourite, or maybe your least favourite slow Formula 1 driver. Also, if there's any drivers that I missed, please let me know and I can add them to a part 2 of this video if you guys liked it. And don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel if you're new here. Thank you so much. I really hope you enjoyed this video. It was a really fun video to make. Thank you so much for watching and I'll see you guys in the next one.